Hey, this is Ben. In this video, we're going to learn how to deploy our real-time task manager into Docker containers that we built in this video. In this video, we're going to use View3 on front end and Laravel Reverb for real-time communication. Throughout this video, you're going to learn what is Docker and how it works. We're going to explore the Docker architecture together and see how Docker daemons manage different types of Docker objects like containers, image, volumes, and network. We're going to talk about Docker registry. We are going to learn how to store and share a Docker image. We are going to talk about Docker Compose, is a tool that allows to manage and run multiple containers at a time. We are going to talk about load balancer, and load balancer is a tool that allows to distribute multiple requests evenly to servers. We are going to talk about Nginx, which is a popular web server that we're going to use as a reverse proxy. And we're going to talk about file permissions in Linux using the chmod command. And finally, we are going to deploy our app to DigitalOcean. That being said, let's get started. So what is Docker? Docker is an open source platform that allows developers to package applications and their dependencies into containers, enabling consistent execution across different environments. And you can take Docker as an operating system. Right now I'm using Windows 11. What if I want to deploy it on DigitalOcean? And you can see that I got different applications right here. I got VLC, Postman, Wondershare, FieldMotor, and other stuff, guys. Now, let's say I deploy my Windows on DigitalOcean. Once I deploy it on a remote server and I want to get access to it, I'm going to have everything that I got right here. Everything as it is on my desktop. Take Docker as an operating system that you want to deploy inside a server. Yeah, you can see on this image, we have here a bunch of operating systems that we can deploy into a remote server. Take Docker like an operating system that you can deploy into a remote server. And this operating system contains some applications. Now, we are going to talk about Docker objects like image, container, volume, and network. What is an image? An image is a read-only template with instructions for creating a Docker container. And you can take a Docker image as a file which contains instructions. In an intuitive way, take it like the source code of your program, and a container is a running app. Yeah, this is how you can take it. An image is a file which contains instructions to create a container. Take it as source code of your file, and then a running program is a container. And a container is a runnable instance of an image. You can create it, start it, stop it, or delete it. And this is a container, as I said before in the previous slide, is a program which is running. Now, we are going to talk about Docker volumes. Docker volumes are a crucial feature for managing persistent data. You can take Docker volumes as a folder where your container is going to put in data. Take it like a folder. A volume is where we're going to put in all data of our MySQL container or our Laravel app. Our Laravel app can have data like folders, logs, files. We're going to put all of that into a folder. And that's what we call volumes in Docker. So what is Nginx? Nginx is a popular open source web server that is used as reverse proxy or load balancer. You can see on the image I illustrated, we have the client and server. The client sends a request to a server, and this request is intercepted by Nginx server. This request won't hit immediately our Laravel server, but instead the Nginx server is going to forward it to the backend. And here, the Nginx plays a role of a reverse proxy. You're going to understand what is a reverse proxy, how it works, when we're going to talk about exposing container ports. And you can see when we run a Laravel app out of a Docker container and we type php artisan save, the Laravel server is going to export the ports 8000. And the client can type localhost port 8000 and then it's going to get access to our Laravel app. But if our Laravel app is running inside a container, in order to get access to it, we are going to hide the port. You can see here, in our case here, our Laravel app is running inside a container on port 80. But we don't want to show the clients that our Laravel app is running on the port 80. But instead, we're going to hide it. And then we are going to create another port that we're going to expose to the clients. for security reason. And here the client is going to tap localhost ports A8089. And then this request is going to be forwarded to the Nginx server, which is a reverse proxy. And then the reverse proxy is going to forward it to our Laravel container, which is running on port 80. And then the client is going to get access to our app. You're going to understand it in practice. Right now, it may seem complicated, but once you practice, you're going to understand it it's going to be easy. Let's talk about network in Docker. Network are fundamental concept in Docker that allows containers to communicate together. We have the bridge network, which is the default network driver for standalone containers. We have the host network, which removes network isolation between the container and the Docker host. We have the overlay network that connects multiple Docker daemons together. And we have the NAN network, which completely isolates a container from the host. Now, what is Docker registry? A Docker registry is a place where you can store or share your Docker image. And we have Docker Hub, which is a Docker registry where we can share, where we can store and share our image. We have also GitLab and we have GitHub. Now, let's have a look to the Docker architecture. You can see in here, guys, we have the clients, the Docker host, and Docker registry. The client can be our command line interface. Once we tap a Docker command like Docker run, Docker build, this command is going to be forwarded to the Docker daemon. And the Docker daemon is an interface which manages Docker objects like image, containers, volumes. And in here you can see, let's say we tap Docker build in order to build an image. We are going to forward the request to the Docker daemons, and then Docker daemons is going to check the image, which is a file which contains a set of instructions in order to create a container. And then if we tap the commands, we are going to create a container. And if we tap, let's say Docker pull, we are going to pull an image from a Docker registry. You can see we have here Docker pull, the forward the request to the Docker daemon, and then the Docker daemon is going to pull an image from a Docker registry. Alright guys, now we're going to start learning how to create containers and image. The first things we are going to download Docker. Go to docker.com, and once in here you're going to click on the button and download Docker desktop. And here you're going to choose a Docker desktop related to your operating system. And you can see actually I've already installed the Docker desktop on my computer. The second thing, we are going to clone the repository of this video. This is the video Laravel Reverb and View Free, part 1, the link down in the description. Clone the repository. And the second thing, you have to download a PHP dependencies. You're going to tap Composer install. And here, yeah, you're going to tap Composer install. And you have to make sure you got a PHP version 8.2. You can see, actually, I'm running this PHP version. Type php-v. You can see I got 8.2 in order to run this project. And this project is built in Laravel 11 projects. You can see if I type php-v, you're going to see the actual Laravel version is 11. You can see 11.8, roughly to Laravel 12. Yeah. And then the second thing, you have to make sure you got Node because we are going to use Vue.js. Yeah, we use Vue.js in the front end. Download Node.js. And here you can come here, click there. And this is the Node.js version that I'm running. Here you can see 18. You can just come here and download it right here. As I said before, the first thing is to clone the repository. The second, Composer install. The third is to tap npm install. And then here, you're going to have the node modules right here. You can see we have here the node modules. Once done, you're gonna do this. You're not going to see the env file inside the project, but instead you're gonna see the .env.example file. Copy the content here and create a .env file and put in this content. And then we are going to make the database connection. For the DB, you're going to pass here MySQL or Postgres, DB host, localhost, DB ports, the name of the database, task manager. You're going to get into within MySQL by doing this. Let me show you. I'm going to open example here. And then in a shell here, and then type MySQL, do this -u -p. Yeah, you're gonna tap enter, and then you'll do create database. Or if you don't want to use the command line, you can just click here admin, and then you're gonna get into install the PHP admin. You're gonna create the database manually. Yeah, you're gonna create the database here, and once done, you're gonna type PHP artisan migrate. You can see here, once the database connection is set up, you're gonna type PHP artisan migrate. You're gonna type PHP artisan migrate. Yeah, and then I've already do the migration. You can see nothing to migrate. Now, before we continue, guys, I want to make sure that you go through all these steps in order to run the app. Otherwise, you're gonna get some errors, guys. And yeah, and now we're gonna head in the browser, and here we're gonna create an account. And to create an account, we are going to use maildev for testing our email locally. We pass it maildev. Yeah, we are going to download it. If you don't know how to download maildev, come here and tap maildev. You're gonna see maildev here, and then you're gonna tap this command in order to install it, and you're gonna tap npm install -g to install maildev globally, and then we're gonna pass here maildev. Like this, you can see this is the repository of maildev is right here, and they explain how to install it and how to run it. Yeah, you're gonna do this, guys, in order to install maildev. And I've already installed it. You're gonna tap this command npm install -g maildev. Let me zoom a little bit so that you can see. And as I got maildev on my computer, I'm gonna tap maildev. And also you're gonna get into your env file. You're gonna pass here for the mailer environment, you're gonna pass here smtp mail host, localhost, and here we're gonna pass here the port of maildev 1025. And in production, and if you want to send your email to Gmail, you're gonna use these ports. You're gonna use 465. Yeah, this is the port that we use in production. Now let's head in the browser and create a user. Here I'm going to move to create an account page. I'm pass here david20@gmail.com. Yeah, this is the email address that we're gonna be using, and I'm gonna pass here the password, and I'm gonna click register. They're gonna send us an email verification, and here you can see inside maildev we haven't yet received the email address because we are using queues and background jobs. And here we're gonna receive the email after a second. Yeah, you can see we got it. Then we're gonna click on check my email to verify our email address. And then we are going to have the possibility to log in. And then I'm pass you the email and then the password. We are going to log in inside the system. And yeah, you can see actually we logged in and we moved to the admin page. And here you can see we have a project which is pinned on dashboard, build and deploy an AI agents. And yeah, you can see here everything is working pretty well. Because we already built the app, everything is okay. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to open a new incognito window. We are going to test if our Laravel Reverb server is working pretty well. I'm pass you the link, and I'm gonna pass you the email is David, and then I'm pass it 20@gmail.com. Yeah, gmail.com with a password 126. And then I'm gonna click login, and I'm going to move to the project page in order to create a project. Let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm gonna move here, projects, and then I'm going to create a project builds an AI agents. Yeah, like this. And here I'm gonna pass here the starting date, and here I'm pass here the ending date. Now here you can see if you go, you can see on dashboard, actually we got 6 projects. I'm gonna click create projects, and then we are going to update the dashboard automatically in real time. You can see we got 7, and here everything is working pretty well. Now this is the actual architecture of our app. You can see that actually our Laravel app is running on our Windows computer. And this is the actual architecture. And we have here example Laravel app located inside exam folder connected to a MySQL database. And we're exposing a port 8000 in order to get access to our app. Now we're going to shift this architecture to a new one. The first things we're going to do, we are going to create an image. And as we said before, an image is simply a file that contains instructions to create a container. In an intuitive way, we says an image is a source code of your program, and the program is the container which is running. And once we have the image, we're going to push it to Docker Hub, which is a container registry. And when we talk about container registry, we have GitLab, GitHub. And in our case, we're going to use Docker Hub. And then we are going to create a server on DigitalOcean. And this server is a Linux server where we're going to install in Docker. And we're going to type a command in order to pull this image from Docker Hub. And then we're going to type another command in order to spin up all our containers. We have Laravel container, MySQL, and Nginx container. And then we're going to expose an IP address to the outside world so that a user from anywhere in the world can get access to our app. And you can see that this is the actual architecture. Pretty easy, pretty simple, guys. Now we're going to learn how to create a Docker image for our Laravel app. To create a Docker image, we are going to move at the roots of our projects. Then we're going to create a Docker file. And I'm going to put in all these instructions. I'm going to explain you all of this step by step. Now, you can see that this image contains a lot of stuff. We can take an image as our Laravel app. As we said before, that an image is a file which contains instruction to create a container. And we can say that our Laravel app is an image which contains instructions to create a program. And a Laravel app has many layers. And we have tools, library, dependencies. And as well as our Docker image, it has some layers. And this layer consists of libraries, tools, dependencies, and other important files that allow us to create a container. Now, if we take a look to this image right here, you can see we have a Docker image and it has some layers. And I'm going to walk you through all the layers of an image in order to understand what exactly is an image. Now we have the first step, we have the selection of the base image where we need to specify an operating system where our Docker container is going to run on. And in order to specify an image that we're going to working with, we use the from command and then we pass the name of the image. You can see I pass here from PHP 8.2 FPM, from node colon 18. And here I just specify that we are going to use node 18 as our image. Now we have two types of Docker image. We have Alpine-based image and also we have Debian-based image. Alpine-based image are lightweight image. When we talk about lightweight image, it means that the file size is small. And this type of image is lack of modules and extensions. And while Debian-based image is a file size which is bigger and it comes with everything out of the box. And how can we differentiate an Alpine-based image and a Debian-based image? You can see at the left side here, this is a Debian-based image. You can see a pass here from PHP 8.2-FPM. And at the right side, we have here from PHP 8.2 FPM Alpine. And this is how we can differentiate an Alpine-based image from a Debian-based image. Now we're going to move to the second layer where we're going to install some system libraries and tools so that our Laravel app can work perfectly. And we're going to run this command apt-get in order to install core URLs, libc, git, cur, and all of that so that our Laravel app can work smoothly inside the container. And we have here apt-get, which is a package manager used for Debian-based Linux distribution like Ubuntu. Now we're going to move to the application code layer. From this layer, guys, we're going to set the working directory by typing work there. And here pass var/ww. We set the working directory. And then we are going to copy all files of our Laravel app into this directory. And we have here another layer where we're going to set some permissions for the storage folder. We need to read and write inside these files. You can see when we run our Laravel app, sometimes we can have a bug and our Laravel app generates a log file. And we need to set the permissions so that we can write inside this folder. And we use, in order to set permissions, we use the gm command, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now we're going to move to the entry points layer. From this stage, we're going to run some scripts when our Docker container is going to be started. And here we are going to run a command like create database if not exists, or we can run php artisan dbseed or php artisan migrate. Now we're going to move to the final stage, where from this stage we are going to export the ports of the Docker container. You can see pass here exports, the port is 80, and then we are going to specify a command in order to start the PHP process manager, and we have here php-fpm. And I think, guys, that's all about an image. I think you get the idea what is an image and how to create one. Now we're gonna move to the practice. Alright guys, it's time to run our Laravel app into Docker. We already create the Dockerfile at the root of our project in order to create an image. And I've already explained what is an image and different types of an image. In our case, we're going to use Debian-based image, because Debian-based image has a lot of things we need in order to run our Laravel app smoothly than Alpine-based image, which are lightweight. And this type of image, a lack of modules and extensions. That's what we said, guys. Now, here you can see from the first layer, we specify the base image, which is the PHP 8.2 FPM. From the second layer, we install some dependencies and tools by using the apt-get package manager. And we says the apt-get is a package manager used for Debian-based Linux distribution. And we install core-utils, we install gits, cur, and other important stuff, guys, like libpn-dev. Now we're gonna move from the third layer. And from this layer, we install some PHP extensions like PDU-MySQL for database operations, MB strings, etc. We use the Docker PHP extension. From this layer, we install Composer, which is a dependency manager, and we are going to use it in production. We can type Composer install to install dependencies inside of our Laravel app. And we set here the working directory, and here we copy files of our Laravel app into the www folder. And from this stage, guys, we set some permissions for the storage and cache folder. We says when we are running our Laravel app, sometimes we can encounter issues and errors, and our Laravel app needs permission to read and write inside the logs folder. And we have also the entry.point.sh file. And here we have this file inside the Docker Compose. And let's head in. The Docker Compose folder is right here at the root of our projects. And we have MySQL folder, Nginx folder. And I'm gonna walk you through the MySQL folder and Nginx folder later on. Now I'm gonna explain you a content inside the entry.point.sh file. Inside this file, we got only one command that we can run, php artisan migrate, and in order to map our migrations inside of our database. And yeah, I'm gonna go back in here inside the Dockerfile, and here we pass it here. This is how we specify the entry points. And here, yeah, you can see right now, once here we copy content inside the entry.sh file, we're gonna set the permissions to execute that file, and then in here we are going to export the ports. Our Laravel container is gonna run on the port 80, and finally we are going to we specify a command in order to start the PHP process manager, php-fpm. If you want to learn more about the PHP image, PHP Docker, yeah, you're gonna type that, and PHP official image, yeah, you're gonna move it's hub.docker.com, and from this page you can learn more about a PHP image. Now we're gonna talk about Docker Compose. Docker Compose is a tool that allows to run multiple containers at a time. That's what it says at the beginning. And when we install Docker Desktop, it comes with it. Yeah, I'm typing Docker Compose, and then we're gonna see some commands that we can run along with Docker Compose tool. We have app. If we pass Docker Compose app, we are going to create and start containers. Now, in order to run our containers, we are going to pass some instructions inside a file called Docker Compose.yaml file. And a YAML file is simply a file that contains instructions in order to perform a given task. When we want to push our app in production, we can use a CI/CD pipeline. And in CI/CD pipeline, we work with a YAML file. And YAML files contains instructions to run a given workflow, like running tests, running, linting, and other stuff, guys. Now, in our case, in order to run our containers, we are going to use the Docker Compose.yaml file in order to run multiple containers at a time. And here we have services. The services key here represents all our containers that we want to run. We have here our Laravel app, and we have here MySQL. We pass here the DB, which is the name of the service. We have here Nginx, network, volumes. Now let's start with the Laravel app service. You can see from this stage, guys, we specify the name of the Dockerfile. This is right here. I pass it here. And from this stage, guys, we specify only the path of the Dockerfile. And let's say our Dockerfile is located inside the test folder. We have here the test folder. Yeah, it's located in the test folder. In order to load it, I should pass here that, and then pass here test, and then / Dockerfile in order to run these instructions containing the Dockerfile. And from here, we pass here the name of our image, guys. You can see, and I pass here my name of Docker Hub, and then Laravel app -image, and I specify the version. Sometimes we may need to change a content inside of our Dockerfile. Let's say in here, inside the Dockerfile, we need to get rid of Git inside of our Laravel image. If we install more tools, our image is gonna get bigger. And here, guys, we pass here the name of the image. And let's say we get rid of Git here. We want to reduce the size of our image. We can get rid of Git. And if we get rid of Git, we're gonna say here, we are going to create another image of a Laravel app. We're gonna name it v1.2 like this, and pass here 0. And here we specify the name of the container, which is the Laravel app container. And we pass here some options like restart and let's stop. Let's say our Laravel app container stop. We pass here an option to say that we can restart it. And here we specify the working directory. And volumes, we says the volume right here, we says where our Laravel app is located. We pass the path, and here we use a network. And a network, for the network, we use the bridge network that we define right here. And a bridge network allows containers to communicate together. Yeah, we pass here network, Laravel app network. This is the name of the network. And here the type of the network, which is the bridge network. And here you can see I pass here network, Laravel app, which is the name of the network that we define. And we have here another option says depends on. Our Laravel app container depends on the DB. We need the DB container to start before our Laravel app container. And we specify here some environment variable. And we pass here DB connection and DB host. I'm gonna pass it here. I'm gonna modify this. I'm passing DB host, DB port, database, username, and password. Now let's move to the DB service. And here, guys, we specify the name of the image that we're gonna pull from Docker Hub, which is MySQL 8.0. And the name of the container is Laravel app DB container. And we pass here restart policy. And we are going to restart our Laravel app DB container unless it's stopped. And we have here the port, which is 3306. And we pass here some environment variable, and you can see we specify the MySQL root password is gonna be password. And if we move inside the .env file, you can see from here, guys, we are going to comment this environment variable. When we run our Laravel app on our local computer, we says the DB connection is gonna be MySQL, the DB host, localhost, the port 3306. And we pass here the password is blank. That's what we use when we run our Laravel app on our local computer. But right now we're gonna run our Laravel app inside a container. And as we're gonna run our Laravel app inside a container, for the DB connection, we're gonna pass in MySQL, DB host is going to be the name of the service is DB. You can see we pass here DB, which is the name of the service. And here we pass it the DB ports. We use the same port, the DB database, the DB username is roots, and the DB password and is equal to password. You can see this is the password that I pass here to my SQL roots password environment variable is equal to password. If I modify the password database, you should modify it inside the env file. And we have here volumes. Volumes, we pass here DB data is a volume. We specify a folder where we're gonna keep our databases, and we have to define the volume, which is DB data. Yeah, volumes DB data, and then I pass it here. And here we have the intro point Docker compose / MySQL. If we head in the Docker compose file folder, we have the MySQL folder, init.sql. And once we're going to start this container, we are going to check if the task manager database exists. If it doesn't, we are going to create it. If it exists, we are going to select that database because we want to use it. And here we have the network, which is Laravel app network that we define here. It says here the name of the network is Laravel app network, and the type of the driver is bridge network that allows containers to communicate together. And here, guys, we have here the health check commands. Check if the container is healthy, if the container is running pretty well. Now we're gonna move to the Nginx service, and we pass here Nginx Alpine. It means we use the Alpine based image. We don't use a Debian based image, guys. And here, guys, we are going to have a small size of our image when we're gonna install it, when we're gonna pull it from Docker Hub. And we have the restart policy in the ports 8089. If the user tap localhost 8089, we are going to forward the ports to the port 80. We don't want to expose our Laravel ports to the outside world, but instead we're going to use Nginx as a reverse proxy. It's going to be as an intermediate. Once we have a request from the user, we are going to pass it to Nginx, and then Nginx is going to forward it to our Laravel app. And then we have here volumes, and we specify the folder of the working directory of our Laravel app. Our Laravel app is located inside the var /ww, and then here we pass the Nginx configuration, and the Nginx configurations is located inside the Docker compose folder /Nginx /defaults.conf. And here we are going to, if we head in, I'm not heading inside the Docker compose folder, and then you can see this is the Nginx configurations. And if we have a connection on the ports 80, we are going to run a Laravel app, and you can see I pass here Laravel app, and then the ports 9000 that we're gonna run inside the container. Now I'm gonna continue here. And for the network, we pass Laravel app network that we define here as usual. And for the Laravel queue container and Laravel Reverb container, we're going to work on that later on. Now we are going to run our Laravel app into Docker and see how it works. And now what I'm going to do first, I'm going to build our front ends. You can see our front end is built in Vue.js. Now I'm going to tap this command in order to build the front ends. And we have here two commands in order to build the front end, build and build only. And here I'm going to use build only. I don't want to make tab checking. And now here I'm tap npm run build -only like this. And then we're going to build the front end. And we are going to get rid of the view saver. We are not going to use that anymore. Now I'm going to move here. Is where we tap npm run build only. I'm going to close that. And we're gonna stay with, I'm gonna close all of this, guys. We are not going to run our app on our local computer, but instead inside Docker. That's why I closed the Reverb server, and then I'm gonna close the queue server. And yeah, you can see we just finished building our front end. Now we're gonna tap this command in order to run our Laravel app into Docker. Tap here Docker compose app. And then if you don't have this image, they're going to download it immediately from Docker Hub. And here you can see we are running our Laravel app. we are running the Laravel container. You can see Laravel app db container, Laravel app Nginx container, Laravel app container. We are running all these containers at a time once we tap Docker compose app. And if I head in Docker, you can see that actually we have here 3 containers which are running. We have the Laravel app db container, which is our MySQL database. And here I'm gonna click here, view details. And you can see it's running, and we have the terminal here. And if I tap here ls, I'm going to type here mysql-u root-p, and then they're going to prompt me to enter the password. I'm going to go back here. Now we're going to head in the browser, guys, and we are going to tap localhost port 8089. And we're going to try to see if we are going to render the login page of our Laravel app. I'm going to head in browser, and here I'm going to tap this. Let me pass it here, and then localhost port 8089 app/register, and then we are going to see if we are going to render the page. And here I'm gonna wait a bit. We're gonna wait a bit, guys. Let's see what we got inside the console. And we haven't yet received a request from the user, but we are going to wait a bit, guys. And meanwhile, okay, we got it. We got the register page. It's right here, and we have the login page. And now we are going to shut it down. Again, I'm gonna shut it down the container. I'm tap here Docker, Docker compose down. And then if you tap Docker compose down, you're gonna stop all running containers. And if I tap Docker compose app, and then we are going to restart it and creating containers. If you tap Docker compose app, you're gonna start all these containers. You can see we are running this container. You can see they're running. This is the Laravel app Nginx container is running. Once it's finished, we run the Laravel app db container, and then we're gonna run the Laravel app container. Yeah, you can see. And here, this is the Nginx container is running, but also MySQL is right here. And now I'm gonna stop all this container, and then I'm gonna show you an argument. Here I'm tap here Docker compose down, and then here I'm gonna tap Docker compose app -d, and -d, if you pass -d, it means you're gonna run this container in background, and then you're gonna see the difference. And then here we run all these containers, and then once done, we are not going to see the logs of all these containers. And then you're gonna see we are running these containers. Yeah, we have here the Laravel app Nginx container started, Laravel app db container healthy and started. And now you can see that actually if I tap Docker here Docker container, and then ls, we are going to see running containers. You can see, and I'm gonna decrease the zoom here so that you can see. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, you can see we have here 3 containers. We have here the Laravel app container is running. You got it right here. Yeah, this is one here. We have the Laravel app Nginx container, and we have the Laravel app db container, but also we got a port here. And guys, you can see that actually I don't see the logs. If I tap this, if I tap Docker compose down, I stop all containers, and then I'm gonna tap Docker compose app without the -d. I'm tap Docker compose and pass here Docker compose, and then I'm going to get rid of the d, Docker compose app, and I don't want to pass the d. And then you're gonna see the difference. If you tap Docker compose app, it means you're gonna start creating containers, but you are not going to run these containers in the background. So you're gonna see the logs of the containers. If your container have an error, you're gonna see it right here. And if you have a connection from the user, you're gonna see it in here too. If we head in the Docker desktop, you can see that actually all our containers are running that we specify inside the Docker compose.yaml file. All containers are running. And now what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to head in the browser and then I'm tap localhost app/login. And then you're going to see, you're going to have here a message here. I'm going to scroll down and you can see here the Laravel app container is running. You can see a info, nothing to migrate. And here we have here the PHP process manager is running pretty well. You can see ready to handle connections. And now I'm going to head in the browser and then I'm tap enter. You're going to see once we have a connection from the user, we are going to console something here. And this is how we can run. If you tap Docker Compose app without the D flag, and you're going to run you are not going to run your container in background. But if you tap Docker Compose app plus the -d, you're going to run your container in background. And you can see that actually we have a connection from a Windows machine. You can see we got it right here. And here everything is working fine. Now I'm gonna stop all of that. I'm pass here Docker Compose down. I'm gonna stop all running containers, and then I'm gonna run all these containers in the background. And I'm gonna do this Docker Compose app -d, and then I'm tap enter. Now I'm gonna copy this path here. I'm gonna open another command prompt, and here I'm going to pass it here and pass here this cd. We're gonna pass it the path, and in order to see running containers, guys, we can tap this command docker and pass here docker container ls, and then you're gonna see running containers. Yeah, you can see these are running containers, guys. You can see we have 3 running containers. And here I'm going to tap this command in order to see a list of image that we got of our Laravel app. Now I'm tap docker image and I'm pass here ls, and you can see these are images that we got. And we have here we have here the task manager supervisor. We have here the Laravel app image. We have here the Nginx image is an Alpine based image. You can see this is the tag. The tag is here. And here we have the Alpine. We have here the MySQL image. And we have here this you can see MR Candy /Laravel Reverb image. And you can see the size of each image. And for our Laravel app, this is the size 600 megabytes. For our Nginx container, which is an Alpine based image, the size is 47.9 megabytes. And for our MySQL container, the size is 764 megabytes. And we have another image for the Reverb server. The size is 973 megabytes. And I'm not going to use that image. I'm going to get rid of this. And here, in order to delete an image, you can type this command docker remove. Yeah, you're going to pass here remove and plus remove. This means if you type docker RMI, it means you're going to remove an image. And to delete an image, you can pass here the ID of the image. And here I'm pass here the ID. And then I'm going to get rid of the image. And then I'm do this. And then you can see, you can see unable to delete that image. Yeah, I'm going to force and pass here flag -f in order to force. And you can see that we just deleted the Laravel Reverb image. And this is how we delete an image. And then if I tap docker image ls, you are not going to see it. We don't have it right here. But we have here the task manager supervised image, and I'm gonna delete it too. Yeah, and then I'm pass here the ID of the image that I want to delete. And here the image is a file which contains instructions. That's what we said. And the container is a program which is running. And here I'm pass here -f. Now I'm going to show you how to get into a container in order to perform some task or to fix a bug or to do something, guys. It's pretty important to know how to get into a container so that we can fix an issue if we got it. Now, in order to get into a container, we need to know the ID of the running container that we want to get in. And here, pass docker container ls. And here you can see we have here 3 containers which are running. And I'm going to get in the Laravel app container. I'm going to copy the ID. You can see we have here the ID of the container which is running. Now, in order to get this container, we need to use the ID. I'm going to copy that ID here of the Laravel container. And then I'm passing docker. We're going to type this command, docker exec -it. And then I'm pass the ID and then sh. And right now you can see we are running the container. If I pass here ls, you can see this is our Laravel app. And inside a container, we use only Linux commands. And if I tap here, I get it out this folder. And then I tap ls, you can see backups folder, cache folder, lib, local. These are Linux folder. And then our app is located inside the www folder. And here I'm gonna tap cd www, and then I'm going to get in. And here, if you want to see hidden folder and hidden files, pass here ls-a, and then you can see we got everything from our Laravel app, everything right here. And we can see even the contents by tapping cat and then .renv, and we can see everything in here, guys. And yeah, you can see everything is working right here. Now I'm going to try to do something. You can see this is our Laravel app and is running inside a container. But what if I modify something here? I head in the app folder, HP folder of controller. And in here, if I pass here, I modify something here, I pass here something like, this is a comment, tap this. And if we head in the container, we're gonna see this is a comment immediately. And let's head in the container again. And then I'm going to do this. I'm gonna tap clear here, and then I'm pass here cd app. And then we're gonna head inside the HP folder. And then let's see controllers. And then I'm going to tap cat of controller, pass it off controller.php. You're gonna see we are going to, let me pass here cat of controller like this .php. You're gonna see the content here. We have the content, and you can see this is a comment. And if I remove this line here, we are going to remove it immediately. Because inside the Docker Compose YAML file, we make a link between our Laravel app, which is located on our local computer, with our Laravel app, which is located inside the Docker container. And here is because of this line right here. This is because of this line. Yeah, if you don't specify the value, and you can't link your Laravel app, which is located on your local computer, to the Laravel app, which is located into the container. This is this line right here is pretty important. And now I'm going to go back. I'm gonna do this cd to get it off the folder, and then you can see I'm tap it again. I can tap here this again. And then, yeah, I'm going to get it off this folder. Yeah, like this. And then you already know how to get into a container. And if I pass here composer, you're going to see we got composer inside the container. Yeah, you can see we got the dependency manager because we install it into the container. You can see here when inside the Dockerfile, we pass here composer. And we have here Git. If I tap Git, we got Git here. And if I tap here Git, and Git is installed inside of our container. These are tools that we added into our image, our Laravel image, guys. And if you want to add another tool, you can just come here and add it here. And we have the cur. The cur tool, it allows to make HTTP requests inside a container. And that's it, guys. The rest is to practice, try to practice in order to learn more. Now we are going to head in the MySQL container, and then I'm going to get rid of the Laravel app container and pass here this Docker container ls, and here I'm going to copy the ID of the MySQL container, and then I'm going to tap this command here. I'm going to pass here the ID, and then if I tap ls, you can see this is the MySQL container. If I pass MySQL-u root-p, they're gonna prompt us to pass the password, and you can see if I pass here show databases, and then we are going to see our task manager database, and I can pass a use task manager, like this, and show tables. We have all our tables. Select star from users. Everything is working pretty well here, guys, as you are using phpMyAdmin. Pass here this, and then you can see we have here a user ben@gmail.com. We have here 2 users. Everything is working fine, and this is how you can get into a container. But also you have the possibility to see the logs of a container, Docker logs, and then you can pass the ID of the container, and then you can see this is the logs of the MySQL container. We can see also the logs of our Laravel container and pass here Docker container, and then you're gonna see we are going to copy the ID here and then pass here Docker logs, and then we're gonna pass here the ID of our Laravel app container, and here Docker logs. And here you can see info, nothing to migrate, and FPM is running, ready to handle connections. Everything is working fine. But what if you don't want to write these commands in order to get into a particular container, or in order to see the logs, you need to tap Docker logs. But what if you don't want to tap these commands? You can get into Docker desktop, and we're going to move here, and we have a menu here. If I click view details, we can see the logs of our Nginx container. And I'm going to see the logs of our DB container. I'm going to click here and then view details, and then I can see the logs, but also have the possibility to get into MySQL database. You can see if I pass here MySQL, I'm going to pass here MySQL-u root-p, and then they prompt me to enter the password. And if I enter the password, I'm going to get into the database. Now we are going to add 2 containers, the Q container and the Reverb container. And I'm going to copy something right here. I'm going to copy this, and then we're going to pass it here. And I'm going to show you something. Now, first of all, I'm going to try to get into inside of our app, and then we are going to add these 2 containers. And here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to head in the browser, and here I'm going to pass here my email and password, and then failed to fetch. We have an error, guys. Now, what I'm going to do here, and here you can see I'm going to head inside the network tab, and then I'm click login, and here you can see we have an error. We are making a NetP request. We are adding these endpoints. You can see we pass here. Let me zoom a little bit. I'm going to click here. You can see this is the base URL of our Laravel app that we are using, HTTP, and then you can see localhost, we pass the port 8000. And you can see that actually we export the port 8089 from our container. And in order to get access to the backends, we are going to use the port 8089. That's what we're going to do. And we are going to head inside of our view app. We have a file right here, app tiers. And right, you can see pass here this. I'm going to comment this, and then I'm going to uncomment this. We are going to pass here port 8089. Pass here 80. We're going to pass here 89 like this. And I'm going to copy it. We're going to pass it here too. And once you deploy your app to DigitalOcean or to another hosting server, you need to pass here the IP address or the domain. And now I'm going to tap this command again in order to build the front ends. I'm going to tap here npm run build only. Meanwhile, we're going to create the Q container and Reverb container. Now let's uncomment the Laravel Reverb service, and which is the name of the service, and we have the image. The image we use our Laravel app. You can see we pass here Laravel app image v1. Yeah, this is the name of our image. We use the Laravel app image, and the container name is Reverb server. And the ports, we use the port 8080, and this is the ports that we got inside the env file, which is the port where the Reverb server is running. I'm gonna get into the env file, and then I'm gonna show you that here you can see when we are running our Laravel app on our local computer, we use for the Reverb host, we use a local host. And as we're gonna run it into a container, we're gonna use the name of the container. You can see we're gonna use Reverb server. You can see we got it here. Container name Reverb server, and then we're gonna pass it here. I'm gonna comment this and comment this. For the ports, we use 8080, and here you can see we got 8080. Depends on Laravel app, which is the name of the service. We need our Laravel app to start before the Laravel Reverb server service. And these are the environment variable, Reverb app ID. We grab them from the env file. We copy these, we copy the values from here, and then we pass it here. And the working directory, we pass var ww, where our Laravel app is located, and the volumes. And then we pass here the network, but also we specify a command that we're gonna run when this container is gonna be started. We're gonna run php artisan reverb starts. But also we have the Laravel queue container. I'm gonna pass it here, and that's it. Laravel queue worker. Yeah, this is the name of the service, Laravel queue worker. For the image, we use our Laravel app, and the container name is Laravel queue worker. Depends on our Laravel app, and we pass it some environment variable. And here we specify the working directory. And once this container is gonna spin up, we're gonna run the command php artisan queue work. Now I'm going to check if we already built our front end. You can see we got everything is okay. Now I'm gonna pass here another command docker. Yeah, I'm passing docker compose down to stop all containers which are running. And here I'm gonna type here docker compose app -d. And then we're gonna spin up all containers. And then you can see that I actually just created the Laravel queue worker container, but also we create the Reverb server container. And you can see we're going to wait a bit. If we head in Docker desktop, you're gonna see in here we're gonna move to the containers menu, and then you can see that actually we just spin up 5. Yeah, 1 2 3 4 5. We just spin up 5 containers. Now let's head in the browser and see if we're going to log in the user and pass here the email, but also pass here the password. I'm going to open a new incognito window here, guys, and then I'm going to copy the link. We are going to pass it in here and pass it here. We're going to move to the login page and pass here /, pass here /, and then I'm passing login. And you can see actually we have 19 projects, and the project which is pinned on dashboard is how to eat a pineapple. And here we are going to move to the login page, and then we're going to log in another user and see if we are going to broadcast an event in real time. I'm passing ben@gmail.com with a password 123456. Then I'm gonna click login. Now I'm going to create a project and see if we are going to broadcast that event in real time. Let's wait a bit. I'm gonna move to the project page, and then I'm gonna click here, create projects, and I'm gonna create here a project, how to build an AI agent. This is the name of the project. I'm gonna select the starting date and ending date, and here let's pass here the ending date. And then I'm going to click create projects. Yeah, you can see we just created a project. We have here a message. Now let's check if you can see that actually we update the total number of projects in real time. We don't refresh the window. Now that we know how to run our Laravel app into containers, we already learned how to spin up 5 containers. You can see we have here 5 containers which are running: the Laravel app DB container, Nginx, and queue and reverb container. Now we're going to talk a little bit about chmod commands in Linux in order to manage file permissions. Sometimes you may deploy your app into production using Docker, and you may encounter some errors like file permissions. I'm going to show you how to fix that, guys. how to deal with it. Now, in Linux, we have 3 types of permissions. We have read, write, and execute. For permissions group, we have owner, group, and others. And this is how it's represented. We have here the first line here, it means the owner. For the second here, we have group, and here we have others. And here, in order to add permissions to a given file in Linux, you can use the chmod command, and then we can pass here, we are going to pass here O, which means others, plus, and then we're going to pass here read, and here the name of, we're going to pass here the name of the file. Yeah, like this, .txt. And then I'm going to copy that and pass it here. Yeah, I'm gonna copy that and pass it here. If we need to, here we are adding permissions to the others, and here I'm going to remove the permissions. We use the plus in order to add permission and minus in order to remove permissions. And if you want to add read or a particular permissions to owner, you can pass here owner, which is the U, and here U. For the group, you can pass here the G. I'm gonna copy this, and here you can pass here the G. Yeah, for the group, guys. Now let's get into a specific container, and then we are going to learn how to add and remove permissions to files. Now I'm going to head into Docker containers and pass here Docker container. In order to grab the ID of the Laravel container, I'm gonna copy it here, and here we're gonna pass here docker exec -it here, and then sh, and I'm going to head in the storage folder, storage, and here let me see, I'm going to head inside the logs folder, and here we have some files. In order to see hidden files, we can tap ls-a. We have the .git ignore file. And if you want to see permissions attributed to these files, we can tap ls-l. And then you can see we have the Laravel.log file right here and the worker.log.file. And here, in order to, let's say I want to remove the read and write permissions to the Laravel.log file. And here I'm pass here. This is others. We have here owner, and here group and others. I'm going to remove to others. I'm tap here chmod commands, and I'm going to pass here O -r. And here, yeah, I should pass here the name of the, I'm going to pass here the name of the file, chmod, and then O-r, and I'm passing here Laravel.log, like this. And then if you tap again ls-l, you can see that actually the Laravel.log file doesn't have the read and write permissions. Now I'm going to head inside of our Laravel app. I'm going to create an error. And here, let's say we head inside the web file, and we have an error, this type of error. Let's say we want to move to the home page, or we want to move to the login page. We are going to get this error, and let me head in the browser, and here I'm going to refresh the page here. Let me log out, and then you're gonna see we are going to have an error. I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm pass it here, and here I'm passing app/login, and then I'm tap enter. You're gonna see we are going to have an error. And yeah, you can see we have here an error, guys. Permission denied. The exception occurred while attempting to log. Attributes does not exist. We have this type of error because we want to read and write inside the log file, but we don't have this possibility to do that. Now let's go back here, and I'm gonna pass here chmod command, and then I pass here O, and then plus in order to add the read and write permission, and then I'm tap enter. Yeah, I forgot to pass here the name of the file. Pass here read and write Laravel.log file, and then I tap enter. If you tap ls-l, yeah, we have here read and write. Now let's go back inside the browser. This is the first error that we got when we don't attribute the Laravel.log file the read and write permission. Now I'm going to refresh the page here, and we are going to see another error. It's going to be the syntax error. You can see that actually we don't have the permissions error, and now we got the syntax error. The get here is not recognized as a function. Now I'm gonna put it back, and here I'm passing get like this, and then we are going to get rid of the error. And that's pretty much it, guys. Yeah, this is how we should use the chmod command in order to manage file permissions in Linux. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about the .docker-ignore file. The .docker-ignore file is a file that allows us to remove some folders that we don't want them to be part of our Docker image, like node modules, vendor, and Dockerfile. If you don't list these folders inside the .docker-ignore, they're going to be part of your Docker image, and your Docker image is going to get bigger. It's better to add them here, guys. And also, we are going to talk about how to send email in production. And in development, we use maildev for sending our email locally to check if everything is working smoothly. Now, in production, it's better to use even an SMTP service like Mailtrap. And also, I'm going to show you one more thing, guys. You can see if you're heading inside the Docker Compose, and we use here, let me head in first the .env file. We are going to talk about the database connection. For the database connection, we pass here the DB service, but also we can pass here the container name. I'm going to show you. I'm now heading the Docker Compose YAML file, and we have here the DB service. Yeah, you can see we have it here. And I'm going to copy the Laravel app DB container. This is the name of this container. And I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to pass it here. It's going to work for database connection. I'm going to type here docker compose app-d, and then you're going to see we are going to make database connection without any issue, guys. And here, yeah, it's going to work. And now let's go inside the browser and see if we got data. And here, let's see, we are going to wait a bit. And you can see that actually we got error. Everything is working pretty well, no error. You can pass the service name or the container name. Now we're going to talk about load balancer. Now let me head in here. And we says at the beginning that load balancer is a tool that allows us to manage multiple requests and distribute them evenly to servers. Let's say we have 3 Laravel servers, 3 instances of our Laravel app which are running, and we got 30 requests from the user. What the load balancer is going to do, it's going to take these 30 requests, and then it's going to divide them by 3 servers. And so that each server is going to take 10 requests. Each server is going to consume 10 requests. And this is how a load balancer works, guys. Now we are going to learn how to use it in practice. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy something here, and we are going to add this line. Let me head in the Docker Compose YAML file, and we are going to move up here. And here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add these 2 lines here. And then here, we are going to deploy 2 replica. And I can say 2 service of our Laravel app. And then I'm pass you 3. We're going to run 3 instances of our Laravel app. And then here you can see the container name. I'm going to comment this line. Docker daemon is going to generate a name for the Laravel app service. Now let's head in the command prompt, and I'm going to type this command here, guys, docker compose down to stop all containers which are running. And then we're going to type docker compose app-d. And we're going to wait a bit, guys. Now we're going to type this command docker compose app-d, and then you're going to see we're going to spin up how many services. We are going to spin up 3 service of Laravel app. Yeah, you're going to see. Now let's head in here. I'm going to move here containers. I'm going to click here, and yeah, you can see we already run here. The Laravel app DB container is running. The Laravel app Nginx container is running. And Laravel app 3. Yeah, you can see we have here name Laravel app 3, Laravel app 2, and here we have Laravel app 1. Yeah, and here what I'm going to do here, I'm going to type here docker ls. Yeah, I'm passing docker container ls. Yeah, we're going to see running containers, and you can see that actually we got 7 running containers. And let me zoom a little bit. Yeah, you can see Yeah, these are running containers. Yeah, and you can tap even Docker peers to see running containers. It works the same. And for the rest of the video, you're gonna check this video to learn how to push your image to Docker Hub and how to create a server on DigitalOcean. Now let's check this. And for the rest of the video, you're gonna check this video from this section here, guys. And let me show you this. You're gonna move here, guys. You're gonna check build and deploy part 3, CI/CD pipeline with Docker. You're gonna start from here, and then you're gonna learn how to push your image to Docker Hub and how to run it into a DigitalOcean server. And yeah, that's all. But also, now these are the topic that we discussed from the latest section of this video. The first thing, you're gonna learn how to select a server on DigitalOcean, how to install Docker into a DigitalOcean server, pushing image to Docker Hub. And after that, guys, you're gonna make research about performance and securing a Docker image. And also, once you deploy your app to production, you need to set the debug to false. You need to cache your views, cache your config, cache your routes and API. But also, it's important to use an in-memory database like Redis to increase performance. That's pretty much it, guys, for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I see you in the next one.